Okay, I'm just going to go backwards in time a little bit and talk about software apps and suites that are available for the PCs and how do the app concept on a mobile device differ from that. I just think about Microsoft Office or WordPerfect Office or even OpenOffice. All of those have essentially the same problem. That is, they are bloated. And what I mean by that is that the software code tries to do everything for everybody. So you end up with this big piece of software that has all kinds of functions in it that most people will never, ever use. But you pay for it.
Yes, and that's, I'm just interrupting right here. I got one of my online students presently coming in and asking me a question on Skype as we carry on this conversation. Yeah, I agree with that a lot. You go ahead and let's say you take a look at, and poor Microsoft's always hanging out there, right, because of what they try to build, and same like Adobe now with Photoshop, etc. Right, the expense is big on the front end, right? That there's a cost to that incredible piece of software. All those people involved, the marketing and everything makes it very expensive, which is one issue by itself. It has so much functionality, like you're saying. I did Colin Jago and we did a presentation at Minds on Media a little while ago on Photoshop. And we started off with about 7 or 8 things, and we only had an hour, right? We had 7 or 8 things we were going to kind of try to get their heads around. Well, what happens about 15 minutes in is you get through a couple, and then there's somebody at the back who's been playing with Photoshop for the last 4 years, and they say, well, can you help me do this? And I go, no, I don't know how to help you do that, because because the possibilities inside that software are so huge, and the specific things that you can do with it that are addressed with directly to it just cause confusion. I guess there's no better use of it, word for it, than confusion. And that's where, again, the app has that pointed one-off thing, which is a strength maybe by itself.
Yeah, the other interesting thing is, if you take a look at any of those suites, and you can come up with, it really doesn't matter who's creating them, but there's always 2, 3, 4, 5 different ways of doing exactly the same thing as well. Yeah. So that certainly does not help in reducing the confusion as we're going forward.
There's even as a trainer, when I was working so much at the school board talking and teaching software to other teachers, it actually muddies the waters a lot, right? Because you'll be making a presentation to somebody and say, okay, we're going to do this, and they go, oh, I do it this way, and then, oh, well, I did it this way, and then the whole conversation goes away from the learning to this conversation about the doing of, and it's not extending your ability anymore. It's kind of holding you back.
Right. Okay, let's move on to the last question here, the last set of questions. So what is BYOD and ubiquitous mobile computing all about? How does BYOD change the experience of the IT environment within institutions and corporations? And then we'll see if we can actually bring all of this back to wrapping up the conversation, looking at adult education and teaching and learning within education contexts and environments. So let's start with the BYOD and ubiquitous mobile computing, the top there.
Okay. All right, so BYOD is, again, just a knockoff on bring your own other things, and in this case it's bring your own device. And it is kind of a party, isn't it? It's you bring these into a place of learning, and you know what? I'm not the smartest guy in the room anymore, and I love that. So they come in the door, they bring in their devices, and we can go ahead and have a learning party. You know what I mean? We need to know stuff. We need to access things. We need to speak with someone else in the world. We need to be able to reach out and thin those walls of our classroom. We can. So, and that doesn't mean whether it's a classroom or a workspace or industry, whatever it is, you've just enabled this whole thinking to get so much better. We did a presentation, a think tank here where we're developing our technology plan for our school board when I was in consultant role. And we were able to pop out and get, using our devices, get feedback from a network of individuals who weren't in the meeting. And so we had, let's say, 15 people's brains in there, smoking away on this idea, and then we could go ahead and reach out and go say, I know somebody who really knows a lot about that. And, you know, you could send them a text, and next thing you know, you could hook them in by Skype and add it to the meeting. So it allows for an awful lot of functionality to take place. And it's really, I think, the way of the future to get rid of these controls that exist inside of most networks that would have made that actually almost untenable.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because the flip side of this is, while it's actually empowering the individual to be able to bring their own device and therefore their own experiences and being able to reach out and do the thinning of the walls that you were talking about, it also causes huge headaches for the IT departments, because now they're going to be expected to support all of that. And there's absolutely no way, with the budgets and the personnel that we have, the resources that are available, that that's going to occur. So can you talk just a little bit about what the IT departments are going to be seeing as a result of, you know, this proliferation of mobile devices that are coming in, and how is that going to change the role of IT as we move forward?
I think, you know, and I know it's a bit of a stretch, but it's almost like IT becomes like the OS for this, you know, in a digital mobile world. The IT departments are able to build layers on which all these other things can ride. And if they can take that concept in their minds, and they have to do a lot of mind shift, because I think an awful lot of experience I've had with IT is a master-slave relationship, and I use those terms exactly because remember back in the days when we used to build our own computers, and you went ahead and set the jumpers in the master or slave role, depending what device was going to be controlled, what part of the OS, and that's exactly how they've always seen a network environment. It's something they control, lock down, keep safe, enable only this amount of functionality, go to those full-blown pieces of software that you and I were just talking about that had, you know, carte blanche ability. Yeah, so the new terminology is server and client, which is a way better terminology for certain. In my role, like, you know, I see this possibility of, if they can just get their heads around the allowing of freedom inside of a system, that they still control that interface layer, then we could really launch out and go somewhere. And they could actually save money, because right now we have to provide 3-to-1 ratios of computers to kids in our school. Office is the same thing. But if somebody's walking into my school with his own iPod in his pocket, or her own you know, BlackBerry or whatever in her pocket, they can do an awful lot of the things with that piece of hardware, software that they've added themselves, to do something that is actually good for this learning environment, you know?
Right, and we can go further than just talking about the relevant experiences within a learning environment, and talk about the experiences that have been playing out over the last 12, 18 months in other parts of the world. It's been said anyways that some of the revolutions that have occurred in places like Egypt and Libya, and to a certain extent in other places in the world, have everything to do with the ubiquitous nature, or the ubiquitous access to mobile technology, and Twitter, to a large extent, has been attributed to having this, to allowing for the emancipation of individuals within their own political structures. Did you want to comment a little bit more on that?
I think you and I have talked one time about something that's really important, I think, and that's that extension of voice. Technology allows you to have that voice somewhere in the world. We've never, and that's been locked down culturally in a lot of cases, right? I traveled for a lot of, in my oil field experience, spent 2.5 years in West Africa, and during the war in Angola. So I understand how sometimes if an organization or a country wants to go ahead and quiet anything to be said, they can surely do it in a heartbeat. Under the old system of communication, right? They can just shut it down and nothing leaves. But that doesn't happen now. I mean, we even saw that horrible situation with the young girl who was murdered in the Middle East, right? You know, but it brings home and enables the rest of the world to know what's going on out there, and more importantly, it makes that place somehow accountable to the rest of the world, right? And so if a change needs to happen, there are more pressure there than there ever could be before. Doors used to close and you didn't hear anything, but now doors can't close anymore. And we can, and I get really, I think this is really an important piece about bringing a democratized world. And it may, you know, we just went through Arab Spring or are in the process of Arab Spring, right? Taking on a good, and we know that mobile devices are huge in third world nations, again, for the same reasons. They're affordable. They don't require huge networks to run on, those kind of things. So we end up, I don't know, maybe historians look at this time, will they find that it was really augmented truly by the fact that a lot of the information could flow in and out? It's yet for the history books to show us, but I would estimate that there's definitely going to be a part played by it.
Okay, we are rapidly running out of time, so I'd like to bring this back to the adult education, teaching and learning. Perhaps we can say a couple of words about the implications of mobile devices and the whole BYOD movement to curriculum, how that plays out inside classrooms, or doesn't bring, allows us to actually move outside of the concept of classroom, etc., so that it becomes truly a lifelong learning experience that can happen any place, any time.
Yeah, it's a wonderful piece. You know, I mean, I think we're at a stage that we probably would have loved to have gotten to 20 years earlier, and if you know, Berners-Lee had been able to, you know, give his expression of what the internet was to look like in his future, which is our now, I think it would have been an awful lot like we're seeing. We now don't have to be restricted by having access to someone who knows. We can find someone who knows anywhere now, right? An example that I can give really quickly, a guy that I know wanted to teach his son Scratch, which is a little programming language, right? He couldn't find anybody who wanted to teach his son Scratch. So he put his stuff out there on Skype to try to find access to some of these people. He used Twitter. An awful lot of that was done on mobile devices. And he found a teacher, but he had to be offline by 11 o'clock at night. The guy was in Scotland, but because he was only 9 years old, it was necessary for him to get offline before the little guy went to his bedtime. So the whole world can become your teacher. There's somebody out there somewhere who can do what you want and bring it to you. The smartest guy in the room anymore is now the smartest lady in the room is the one how to know how to make those connections.
Right. Thank you very much. This has been a wonderful opportunity to talk about a lot of these kinds of questions, and I'm sure that we'll have a lot more discussion as we're going through the entire process of dealing with the tutorial sessions and the implications within all of the different kinds of environments, learning environments that are represented by people in the class. Do you want to have one last word before we sign off?
Well, not really. I just, I want to thank again because this is really interesting stuff to me. It'll be interesting for us to play this back 15 years from now and see how that plays out. We can probably watch it on our eyeglasses, kind of built-in piece of technology that allows us to look back with.
It'll be interesting to see if YouTube is still around at that point in time, whether this video is still going to be sitting in YouTube. It'll probably be sitting in Dropbox if that exists as well. But anyways, great talking with you, and thank you so very much for this. Look forward to having further conversations as we go through the rest of the course.
Thank you very much, Phil.
Bye.